Hi everybody and welcome back. Today we are going to look at one of the nicest release made by Italeri in their production of truck models. Italeri have a quite famous history right now to be the leader manufacturer of truck kits in scale 124, and they usually became huge models, and that they are also quite difficult to be made in the proper way because many modelers try to approach this type of kits in the same way they approach starting a model, a starting a kit for beginners, and usually they are not so user-friendly, either to say, and not because they are bad kits, but because they are quite complex model and very fragile, and so it's extremely complicated to make it to an end without a good experience in building this type of kit. This actros is a Mercedes-Benz MP4, is one of their newest model. I mean, relatively newest because it was a model made in 2018, if I'm not wrong, and it is anyway a brand new course of the production of their trucks. Italeri was quite famous because until the 90s they were famous to reuse the under chassis from previous production, from previous version, something that slightly happened in the real production of trucks, but nearly always they have been adapted and they have been updated, and so they are not so they don't have so many parts in common with the previous version of the same truck. For example, Mercedes have an incredibly great tradition of trucks with the SK series that are still, I think, still in production in Yugoslavia, something like that, and they are excellent trucks. They are also used by the army, so it is really a truck that made the history of trucking. This model is very nice, absolutely very nice. So I already start to tell you that it is something that, if you are in this type of modeling, is really how to say, is really a must to have in your collection, this type of kit. Inside you have a huge box. You see how wide they are, how big they are, and there is piles of parts, and the only lack that I found immediately opening the box, it was related to the decal sheet. The decal sheet is in an excellent quality, as a user from the standard of this company. They are made by Zanchetti. Zanchetti is a company making decal in Buccinasco, a small town around Milano, and in Italy, of course. And the problem was that mostly they are not sealed like you are looking here. It is always me that, to prevent any kind of damage to the decal sheet, I used to place over a kind of plastic to protect them from any kind of scratch and so on. They just provide a paper that is a kind of, I never understand if it is a kind of absorbing humidity paper or whatsoever, but it is not connected directly to the sheet, so it very often happens that you open the box, here there is the decal sheet, and here there is the special paper to protect it. So I always prefer to place everything together and make it look like it is here, you see. So they basically provide two decal sheets with the logos of Mercedes, and with the silver part that is, you see, is basically the part dedicated to the side mirrors. So they are no longer in decal sheets like we on the decal sheets like we used to see over the previous release from Italeri. The instruction is a fantastic book. You see, this is also have the side pins of the real books, so it's really something huge. I think it's more than 20 pages, 27 pages, you see, for instructions and so on, made in a very nice way, and to make it quite easy how to understand. But once again, if you are dealing with a model that is 27 sheets of instructions, you are not dealing with something that is meant to be in the hand of beginners. So this is just a kit that is for experienced models, in my opinion. The model is a full detail model, of course. Is one of the, let's talk about it with the picture of him in front of us. This is the Mercedes actros is a family of truck. Modern manufacturers used to have a base that is basically a standard chassis with a standard type of engine with different power depending to the purpose where the truck is meant to be used. And this is mostly used for the long range trips around Europe or around the world, you know, so they are meant really to be like highway animals, so they are just something that belong to the highway. So of course everything is made in the comfort of the driver and in the cheapest way to be in economy for fuel consumption, you know. So of course the look is very similar to a car. Also the paint is not really the type of truck that I like, you know. I like much more, if you see my video, use stuff really taking them to life with the rusty effect and so on. Instead, this one is what they call the plastic trucks, you know. So it's something that is made basically, of course, with a steel part and metal under chassis, but the most part of all the truck is made in plastic, you know. So the roof is plastic, the sides are plastic, the skirts here are plastic, so everything is in plastic in this type of truck. That's why they are nicknamed the plastic trucks, you know. And inside you find there is really a branch of parts, really tons of parts, you know, and tons of details, absolutely well done for the standard of Italeri. So Italeri really switched the trigger, I mean, of this type of items in another level, you know, because this model is absolutely really well done. There is basically no flashes all over. There is a lot of very fine details all over the part, so it's something that is a little bit surprising for the last standard of Italeri, when they start to reuse the part coming from previous kits, where you clearly see that the mold is used. The mold is absolutely old compared to the rest of the part. This doesn't happen with the actros here, because this is absolutely new and absolutely clean. The overall look is impressive, you know. The truck is absolutely well done. There is a lot of details that they just require to be painted in the proper way. Of course, the cable you can change, you can do something like that, but you know, they are all in the proper position, so you already have a base for an eventual super detail of this type of object, you know. I think there is about I think I counted 9 or 10 sprues inside. Let's count the part. You see, 1, 2, 3, 4 wheels, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sprues, you know. Consider it like a sprue, the group of wheels, you know. So we will see, because usually when I take this kind of models, I plan to do some version, at least the one working in the Middle East, or at least the one already working in Africa and so on. You know, Africa is no longer like we in Italy used to think, because Italy had a production facility in Nigeria back in time. It was the Fiat of Africa, and they used to produce the 682 version based on the H cabin truck, so it was not really the real Italian 682. But actually, you know, so Nigeria is already an advanced country in their reality of Africa, so they also, you can also find the users of these old trucks, but mostly all in Africa. They have recent stuff, so they use Scania, they use Mercedes, they use Volvo, they use the American trucks, so they use everything that they can, depending of course from the resource of the company that is hiring the driver. So the more money they have, the nicer the truck and the more recent the truck is. So absolutely you can find also this stuff there. What is interesting about the trucks used in the Middle East is basically that they have the double bridge on the rear axles, you know. Instead, in Europe, mostly in Europe, in the lowest part of Europe, usually they have been just 2 axles, so a 4x2 truck, you know. Instead, usually around the north of Europe, or even better in Africa, they became 6x2 or 6x4, depending for the type of transmission and the type of load that they are supposed to pull. And this model indeed is just related to the version of the 4x2 driving unit, you know. That is the most common truck basically in the lowest part of Europe. This is made by Italeri. Italeri is an Italian company, so they basically take a look of what was going on the market around here, Italy and France and Eastern Europe, to have an idea, you know, where the dimensions, when the weight on the road is a problem, so everything have to be related to that. Of course, there is a millions of version of the actros, you know. It's enough that you Google for it, or even better, if you are close to a truck dealer, that you go in the truck dealer and you ask for the book that Mercedes used to do for this truck. Sometimes I do that with the new Iveco. I took the brochure, we call it, the instruction, the promo book, you know, made by Iveco about the Iveco S-Way, and it is usually for free, or you can ask you, and they never really asked me to pay for such, you know. You just have to be lucky to find them, you know. I also been in Volvo CE, and Volvo CE means construction equipments, and Also there I get a lot of documentation, proper documentation made by the manufacturer, so that is absolutely a milestone documentation if you want to build up something like this. The details inside of the cockpit is absolutely well done, you know, the level of the mold is absolutely up to date. This is a skill. It was really impressive because, you know, I never have been so much into the actors, into modern trucks, you know, but there is some subject, mostly because of the mold, that I really would like to achieve and really would like to collect. And then we will see if I will find a way to build it up. For sure, I will build up the Volvo FH4 because I already bought via Italeri. You know, Italeri have a very interesting service selling you the spare parts. They are a little bit pricey compared to the price of the entire model, and I was able to buy an extra sprue for the Volvo, not for this one, able to provide me all the parts that you require to build up a 6x4 truck, so a double bridge. You have just to rebuild the suspension, so there is a little scratch build in that part, you know, without going on the market. There is of course a variety of producer that is making extra parts, extra part of the chassis made in resin and photo etcher part. There is also companies making completely the chassis in photo etcher part, because the biggest issue that you have with this type of model is basically that if you look closely at the design, at the model design that they have in the chassis, there is a lot of bolts and rivets that are closed, while in the real trucks very often they are completely open. This is a drama, for example, if you build up the kit of the Iveco Stralis. The Iveco Stralis, even made by Italeri, is a brand new mold, but it is made in the way that you have basically to drill all the holes around the chassis. It's a time-consuming work, but it's absolutely worth it because at the end you will absolutely see the difference, you know. In this type of chassis, indeed, they left the rear part separated. This means that probably in the future they are planning to do something more with this type of mold. I will not exclude that directly Italeri will produce in the future a 6x4 version, or even a 3-axle version with a canvas, with a trailer, with a frigo, I don't know. Because you see, it's already prepared to be divided, you know, that is the real part of the tractor, and that is the connection joint to the suspension, so it is, every part is modular, and they have to be prepared in the way, like if you want to do a different version of the actros. The actros have billions of versions. Modern vehicles are just made under the purpose of the client committing it to the original company when they are brand new. When they are used truck, it's completely another story, it's another championship, you know, so you find what you find, and who have the best price usually win. The part that in my opinion is the best part of this kit is absolutely related to the mechanical part. You know, you have all this sprue, take a look at how many parts and how many nice fine details Italeri was able to produce here, and you really have the brand new unit made by Mercedes with all the details, all the main details. Of course, an engine is always more complicated, and today they are all covered in plastic. They are nice objects just to see, but this, I dare to say, is a kind of model inside the model of the engine of the actros. Of course, the details like that are not so nice, you know, the transmission pole is not so detailed, but it is an hidden part, and you of course can go for dividing the two joints and make by yourself even more detailed if you wish to see them. Consider that is really hidden inside the chassis. So because the modern trucks mostly are completely closed outside by grills, by fenders, by, there is everything, plastic parts covering and everything protecting all the stuff from dust and from everything, you know. They have really to look like cars, you know. There is a lot of plastic involved in the process. And last but not least, the last mold is this part about the chassis. As I told you, we have the fifth wheel. This is the reversed part of the mold, and that is the front part of the chassis. So you see, you have to combine these two parts. That really means that in the future we will surely have something bigger arriving on the market. But was the first box that Italeri made about the Actros MP4. They call it the Gigaspace. It was the really first release that they made it, and if you are looking around for it, I think you may be lucky, like I was, buying this stuff for neither 50 euros posted. In my opinion, it is nothing, you know, for such type of model, you know, it's absolutely worth it. And this is because the mold and this box is not the latest that they did. You see also the wheels, they are made in a very nice way. It is not the usual conventional wheel that you find in Italeri stuff. It is a little bit different. You see also the measure over is different. Also the manufacturer is not any longer Michelin, regroovable. I don't know what that is, but surely it is matching to the stuff used on the real vehicle. And close everything, and because it's really huge, to manage this stuff is really taking a lot of space, giga space, like they call the box, absolutely giga space. and and that's it. In my opinion, this is absolutely a must. So even if you just like the nice new molds made by Italeri about this subject, this is worth a try. There is also another version. I think they made other two boxes after this of the same kit with a minor sprue plastic parts, adding an extra bone under here, and it is protection bar that they used to have when they are on the highway, and extra light over the roof, and mostly an extra decal sheet. Probably the decal sheet I will find by myself, because I know a company selling them by their own, so you can also just get the decal sheet that I said already before is an excellent quality usually. But also this one with the Mercedes logo is absolutely nice and absolutely cool. It's just me, it's just myself, that I don't have so much feeling with the plastic track, so I just bought it for the beauty of the mold, and because I really wanted to see in my hands how it was, this 100% new molds that they spotted so much back in time, and they wanted so much people to know that it was a completely new route. I was hoping that this new route went on with the new molds, because we had this one that was a real 100% new mold, really completely new mold, so nothing in common with the previous production of Mercedes trucks. Then they made the Iveco Stralis, basically in the same years of this. This is model that is already 6 or 7 years old, Iveco Stralis also completely new mold, you absolutely cannot have anything in common with the previous production of the Fiat 190 or 260 that they made in the 70s and in the 80s, so everything have to be new. But then they made something different when they started to do, for example, the Scania, because already the Volvo was the last one. Volvo HA4, the Globetrotter kit, even from Italeri, was another 100% mold. So we have Actros MP4, not the MP3, just the MP4, the Iveco Stralis, and the Volvo. They went a little back with the latest production of the Scania, the last Scania in Italeri catalog, because indeed the Scania was disappointing, because they still feature the, for the time, wonderful chassis coming from the Series 142, and so it's absolutely disappointing, because it was the same as if you see a Volvo FH3. That was another nice box that Italeri made about the head of the previous Volvo FH3, and they were sharing the under chassis. The same for the Actros. If you take the previous Actros, not the MP4 but the MP3, that they also made quite common track, also that coming from the 90s and the early year 2000, but still the chassis is the one coming from the SK trucks, so it is not matching at all with the real stuff. They made all the different version of the SK arriving to the last one with different suspensions and so on. They made everything, but it was the old production of another series of trucks. So usually they try to optimize the mold that they have in-house, using part of the chassis coming from other kits and just updating the part that you see from outside. That is not so nice part, it's not so nice, and I deeply prefer, of course, when they invest a little more, they ask a little more money, of course, because this is a brand new investment that they have to do about this stuff, and they anyway propose you a real 100% new mold. Sometimes they place this logo over stuff that is absolutely not new mold. It can be 100% new parts, but not new molds, so just check for it. These actors and the following version of the MP4, remember the name MP4 of this version, is absolutely a masterpiece in track modeling. So in my opinion, is absolutely worth it, even if you are not so much inside plastic track like I am. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching. See you in the next. Peace.